Welcome to the Deep Leadership Podcast. Today I'm joined by Dr. Ichak Adizes. For more than 40 years, Dr. Adizes has developed and tested and documented the proprietary methodology that bears his name. The Adizes Methodology for Organizational Transformation provides tools for organizations to achieve exceptional results and manage accelerated change without destructive conflict. His books have been translated and read all over the world, and I'm honored to have him on the show to talk about how we as leaders can master the art of change management. So, Dr. Adizes, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really flattered and excited.
I'm honored to meet you, sir, and have you on the show. And there's so much we could talk about, but I thought we would hone in on the idea of change management and really. You've got a book you wrote in 1992, and it's still popular today. And you recently re-released it. It's called Mastering Change: Rapid Change Without Destructive Conflict. So the first question for you is, why did you want to reissue this book out for a new, if you will, a new group of audience and readers?
Because I realized that I'm not a consultant anymore. There was a change in how I view myself. When I wrote Mastering Change, I wrote it as a consultant. And then I had a change in my perceptions of what the hell do I do. You see, consultants are like allopathic medical doctors. They know more than the patient. You go to the doctor, he checks you, he decides what the hell you have as a disease, and he gives you a prescription. Same thing with a consultant. Supposedly, they know more than you do, especially if they went to Harvard. And then they look at your problems, and they, because they know better than you do, they give you a prescription, which is called a consulting report. Many years ago, I didn't realize what I was doing, so that's why it took me time to realize what I was doing, and I had to reissue the book. I started in consulting because I was professor at Columbia, at UCLA, at Stanford, and people asked me to consult. And I would go, analyze the problem, use my expertise as a professor of management, write a report, submit it, collect my fees, and very little happened. And that really got me upset. I said, what the hell is going on here? I must be a fake. What kind of a professor I am? I give good advice. They say yes. And then it doesn't happen, or it happens. I recommended a racing horse, and they implemented a camel. What the hell is going on here? And I was really depressed. I was really saying something is wrong with me. I'm a fake. I'm teaching something which I don't know what I'm teaching about. And then I met a McKinsey guy, and he laughed in my face, and he says, welcome to the club. We will have problems of implementation. That's why the consulting industry, many of them burn out after a few years because they just write reports, but don't see the results themselves. The consulting companies today are trying to change to go into implementation, but they don't have the methodology yet. So about 50 years ago, not 40 years ago, I gave up my professorship at UCLA and visiting professor, as I said, in many other universities. I gave up my academic career and jumped into the real world to see how do you implement change. Not how do you decide about what to change, but how do you actually make it happen? Because at that time, 50 years ago, I looked at the library and I could not find one book about implementation. I looked at the MBA program, which I think is still true today, 50 years later, and they have all courses about decision-making. What you should decide in marketing, what you should decide in finance, but there is no one course how to implement it. And then I realized that the secret of success is not in the decision, it's in the implementation. It's better to have an okay strategy that you implement than have a very sophisticated, incredible strategy that you don't implement or you implement badly. So I dedicated my 50 years of my life trying to find out how to implement change, called managing change, rapidly and without destructive conflict. You can do it rapidly, but it creates a tremendous amount of conflict. or you can do it without conflict, slowly, politically correct. But by that time, the market has changed, and what the hell are you implementing now? And outdated something. So the trick, the complication, the challenge was how to have rapid change without destructive conflict. And I plunged into the real world, and then I realized consulting is not the right approach. What is the right approach is really organizational therapy. And what is the difference? In therapy, the therapist does not tell you what to do, does not claim that he knows more than you do. A therapist asks you questions so that at the end of the session or the program or whatever it is, the therapy, you come to your own conclusions and you take your own responsibility to implement your own conclusions. And I said, that is what companies need. Companies do not need somebody to tell them what to do. Because then there is all kind of political problems. I don't agree with him. Yes, I agree with him. And oh God, the difficulties of implementation, or what consultants call people that resist change, that are against change, and they undermine change. It becomes a bloodbath. I said, what I need to do is develop a methodology where I'm reversing the chairs at the table. Instead of the client having the questions, I have the answers. I have the questions, they have to come with the answer. At the end of the process, they say, Dr. Adizes, we know what to do. Get out of the way, you're bothering us and you take away our time. We don't have time for you anymore. In other words, I'm proud of every client I lose.
Interesting. You know, it's interesting you say that, because when I started as my first plant, I was 32 years old, and I thought I had to have all the answers because I was the new plant manager. And what I learned over the course of that 3 years of my first plant was I learned that I had to have the right questions, and I had to be willing to shut up and listen. And because of the expertise, the experience was in the team already. And my job was to just flesh out those ideas and sort of decide on which ones made more sense to implement. And I learned that trick early on.
But the trick here is not so simple, because defining the right questions in the right sequence and how to ask them correctly so that the other person does not feel like you're interrogating, or that the other person does not feel like, what the hell am I paying you for? I'm coming with my own decisions. How to show that you're really adding value, it's not so simple. And as I told you, it took me 50 years. And as a matter of fact, I'll tell you, we're still developing. We are still developing, continuously improving. That's why I have 28 books in 36 languages. And hopefully, I'm telling you, none of them is finished yet. I'm constantly improving. We have a whole video program, hundreds of hours that people can watch videos by subscription. They can watch as much as they want for as long as they want, pay $65 a month, and they can watch the videos. And we're constantly adding videos. It's like medicine. You're constantly learning new ways and faster ways. And you see, in 1982, it took me 3 years to turn Bank of America around. 3 years. They were losing market share. They were really not in a good shape. And they invited me, how do we turn the company around? So it took me 3 years. Just 4 years ago, I turned the largest bank you can imagine, with $15 billion in profits and 250,000 employees in 1 year. What happened? We learned how to make it fast. Like in medicine, you learn. You're constantly learning. And I have an institute in 10 countries in the world, and we are constantly learning cross-cultural. How do you do it in this culture? How do you do it in that culture? What works in this culture, maybe we can put it in this culture and go faster. So we are learning all kinds of tricks, and it's not tricks really, protocols, how to do it right. Whom to invite to the room, for instance. With whom do you work? If you work only with the CEO, it's not good enough. He's going to come with an idea, and those under him that have to implement it are going to say, yes, but, and now we are not going to be rapid. So it really has to be participative, integrated process. So that's what I try to tell you. I discovered that I'm really into organizational therapy and not into consulting. That's why I had to rewrite the book.
Interesting. One of the things I notice with change is there's a human nature to resist change and to cling to the status quo. How does your methodology address this thing that we have in human nature to embrace what we know and fear what we don't know? That seems to be one of the biggest challenges with change.
John, the truth of the matter is, some people need a small heart attack to change their lifestyle.
Yes.
Not a big heart attack, a small one, you know. Doesn't have to be heart attack, it has to be something that says, oh, I better change. So the first step in our methodology is to just give a lecture. How do you change? What are the characteristics of change? To predict changes upfront, because there's a life cycle to an organization. It's predictable, like in raising children. Terrible tools are going to run all over the place. And when they're teenagers, you hate them for a while. I mean, predictable. Organizations have a life cycle too. So we give a lecture about the life cycle organization, general. And I have a book, as I told you, 36 languages. Also, that book gave me 21 honorary doctorates. That's how important it is. And which problems are normal in a company, which problems are abnormal in a company. I don't talk about the company. Theory. What usually happens after that, lecture of 3 hours to top management, has to be top management. They usually say, where are we in the life cycle? Can you help us now? Tell us what's normal, what's abnormal. Say, okay, tell me your problems. And they tell me the problems in a very controlled environment. So there are no accusations, no name calling. Tell me what needs to be improved, not who is guilty. No witch hunt. There's a methodology, very, very strict protocol. So there is no finger pointing and attacks. Very calm, very respectful, very civilized. At the end of this 3 hours, doesn't take more than that. They say, oh my God, you're absolutely, you know what? We need to change. I didn't say that. They said that. We need to change some things. Because I asked them a question, which I did with Bank of America 40 years ago. Say, how many of the problems you have in your, by the way, they write it on a piece of paper. I don't even know what they write. Say, write down all the problems you have in the company that need to be solved. No names. And they must be controllable by you in the room, top management. Don't tell me it's raining outside. Tell me we don't have an umbrella because you don't control the rain. Controllable by you in the room. And don't share what you're writing. So be honest. No, if I don't share it and nobody sees what they write the real problems. Okay? No names. Then you ask them, how many of the problems you had last year? Most. How many of the problems you had 2 years? Most. How many 3 years ago? Quite a lot of them. So, how many of these problems are you going to have 3 years from now? What changes? And let me tell you, if you don't solve them, there are going to be more of them. Usually there is silence in the room. It's called the oh shit experience.
Yes.
Holy. Then I asked them, okay, guys, how many of the problems you have on that piece of paper, which I don't know what you have written? I have no idea what you have written. How many of these problems can any individual in the company solve? Just give them the problems and solve it. You have a president here. Mr. President, you're sitting president of the company. You're responsible. We give you all the problems, solve them. You cannot. Now I tell them, I set you up. I set you up. Because I told you that to be controllable by you in the room. Has to be. Not, unpredictable interest rates. That's not your problem. Our problem is we don't have a strategy to deal with unpredictable solutions. What's your problem? Not what's the problem of the world. But I set you up. It has to be controllable by the room, which means if I have a magic pill and you all agree what to do, how many of these problems can be solved? All by definition, because I set you up. So where is the problem? Not what you have written. You cannot decide what to do in what sequence. This guy says, that's the problem. No, that's the problem. No, that's the problem. Let's do this. No, let's do that. And when you do it in a sequence, they don't necessarily cooperate. So you cannot solve the problem. You're stuck. Don't know at what sequence to attack the problems and how to work together to solve the problem, which means instead of one manager chasing 10 problems, which is typical, we should have 10 managers chasing one problem at a time in the right sequence. And I promise you, which is true, 50 years of experience, if you follow the protocol I'm going to teach you, I promise you, or don't pay, 40% of the problems you have on that piece of paper will be solved by next year. Minimum.
Wow.
How much is it worth? 40 in the second year. 100 for sure in the third year. Maybe faster, depends on how much you cooperate. But let me tell you something. I'm not going to write a report. I'm not going to tell you how to solve it. Who is going to solve it? Who is going to solve it?
Yeah, the team.
You guys.
Yeah.
My job is to give you tools, tested tools all over the world that you can use to solve your problems rapidly without conflict. How do you like that? Say, we are ready, let's go. That's how we do it. I did not tell them you have to change. They beg me to help them change. That's the difference.
One of the things, if you look at like John Cotter's work, he talks about a sense of urgency. You have to create this sense of urgency such that the status quo is dangerous, and you have to go towards a future state. So he you know,
if you don't solve the problems you have on that piece of paper, what's going to happen 3 years from now? Kissinger said, a problem that's not solved is a crisis in making. So look at them and tell me what's going to happen 3 years from now. It's a crisis in making. Yeah. So what are we going to do about it? And I will tell you what. And then I said, if you get together, we can solve it. We can solve it. There's no problem there that cannot be solved. All we need to do is to learn how to work together to solve the problem. And we have the tools, we have the protocols, but here's a difference. You have to dedicate 2 days a month for it, which is not consulting. Consulting, hire the consultant, they continue working, the consultant does his work, submits a report. I'm going to charge you the most expensive asset you have, time. You cannot send somebody else to do therapy for you. You cannot delegate it. Sorry, you cannot. You have to be there. No, we don't have time. Keep suffering. That's all.
Well, in this methodology, you have your guiding coalition right there. It's your senior management team that sort of identified the problem, right?
Or say, that, like I tell you, in every company, Bank of America, on the spot, they gave me a $1 million contract for 3 years, for $3 million to change the bank, and I changed the bank around. Totally changed the bank around. I took Domino Pizza from 150 million to 4 billion. And in his book, The Pizza Tiger, he gives me credit to Adizes. Applied Material, we took from 400 million to 15 billion. Look at my website. Thanks to Dr. Adizes Methodology. A wonderful company, the one for Fiji Water, all of this. They went from 12 million to 4 billion, thanks to Adizes Methodology. And it's in my website with the name of the president, or the name of the company. So this is not hearsay. You know, somebody said, no, no, no. And real results. I'm right now in Mexico working with the company. It started with 250 million. Today it's 15 billion in assets, in revenue, but the owner is worth 20 billion. And thanks to this methodology. Now, what is the secret, John? And that's what I want to explain to you. Change is here to stay. I've been here forever, since the Big Bang. Everything is a system. A human being is a system, a family is a business, a company is a system, a country is a system, the globe is a system. Agree? By definition, a system is composed of subsystems. Like in the business world, you have the marketing subsystem, the sales subsystem, production subsystem, financial subsystem, human resources subsystems, etc. And every subsystem has its own subsystem. When there is change, the subsystems do not change in synchronicity together. Some change faster than others. Marketing changes around, change the prices, change this, do this, very fast. How long does it take to change the sales force? To retrain the sales force, to give them the tools, takes a little bit longer.
Takes a while. Yeah.
How long does it take to change the production system if you need to make a change?
That's a lot of work, a lot of money. Yeah.
How long does it take to change the accounting information system? You should live long enough, right?
Yeah.
How long does it take to change people's culture and attitude?
That can be a long time. Yeah.
So because of that, whenever there is change, take it for granted, there is disintegration. The disintegration is manifested in what we call problems. All problems are manifestations of disintegration caused by change. You have a problem with your car. I'm telling you, something changed, something fell apart. You have a problem in your marriage, something changed, something fell apart. You have a problem in a country, something is changing, something is falling apart. Which means, if change causes disintegration, and disintegration is manifested in problems, how do we solve all problems? Stop change. You can't.
Right.
You can't. That, by the way, some religions try that. All the fanatic religions try to stop change. Not only the Muslims, fanatic Christians too, fanatic Jews too. They want to stop change because there's too much problems. They cannot. It's not going to work because you can stop to change yourself. You can stop changing your company, but the world continues. So there is no way you can stop the whole world. You cannot. You try, but you cannot. Some ideologies try to stop change, very conservative ideologies. So that is a utopian expectation that's not going to happen. So we have no choice, but we have to learn how to manage change. And how do we? If all problems stem from disintegration, what is the solution? Integration. Bring it back together. Realign the subsystems. Marketing went too far. Production is behind. Hold a second. Bring them together. Up. You're constantly aligning the subsystems. Don't allow too big of a disintegration, going to hurt you. It's going to bite you. So our job is to realign the companies all the time. Realign, 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 realign. And there's a whole methodology how to do that. We don't do it. They do it. Give them the tools, monitor how they do it. Monitor how they do it. At the end of the process, they even complain, why the hell did we pay you so much? We did it all. I said, it was the whole trick.
Yeah.
That's the whole trick for you to do the work, because then you take responsibility and you are proud for what you do, and they really are. All the companies we work with eventually get a prize, a company of the year, the entrepreneur of the year, the best company to work for. There is a reason why they're managed well. So that is the trick.
So the idea of integration, so it makes sense, right? The problem is the disintegration creates problems, which is a manifestation of that. But then what does it mean to reintegrate? So explain what that means, or how it looks practically.
Sure. There are 4 variables that you have to work on. You need to develop common vision and values. So if somebody doesn't share your vision, let him go. Somebody doesn't share your values, let him go. We have to be together. Where are we going? How do we get there? Values. Vision and values. After that, is the organization structure correct? To me, it is the most important variable that companies ignore. They do organization charts on a goddamn napkin during dinner, Totally wrong. Structure. Why structure is so important? Because it tells you how the power of the company is distributed. And you are from the Navy. If one of the right engine is stronger than the left engine, you can tell which way the boat is going, right?
Right.
So realignment is realigning the engines. For instance, in an aging company becomes bureaucratic, slow moving. The power is in accounting and legal and those
HR.
kind
Yeah.
of HR.
Yeah.
Okay, legal and accounting and finance dominate the company now. Why? Because the people in finance make more profits by cutting costs.
Right.
And sometimes they cut a foot off so the numbers look good, but the company cannot move.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to remove the. In a growing company, go running around, administration is weak. They don't even listen to the financial guys. Don't bother us. We have too many opportunities. Now you have to strengthen the administrative structure. See, there must be balance between flexibility and controllability. Too much control, not good. Too much flexibility, not good. So look at the organization structure and the power structure, and how do you realign the power structure by restructuring the company correctly. Structure of the company is to be correctly. Example, never in a big company, I'm not talking about startup, small company, have vice president for sales and marketing. Why? Sales is short-term oriented, marketing is long-term oriented. What wins? Short-term. What does marketing do? Serving sales. I call them transvestites. They look like a woman, take the pants off, it's a man. You know, they're not marketing. They're not doing marketing. They're doing sales support.
Yeah.
They're doing sales support. Never put R&D and production together or engineering and production together. They will end up doing maintenance. They're not going to do new product and development or new production engineering. So you have to split. So there's a whole theory behind it. People have to read my book or watch my videos. How do you structure the company correctly? How do you structure the company correctly? Structure means the power structure, the responsibility structure, the reward structure, the flow of information structure. It's a whole architectural design. And when you finish that, wow, the company is aligned. So we have common vision, values, the right organizational structure. Then you need disciplined decision-making process. Because the entrepreneurial guy interrupts everybody, talks all the time, and all the others have to clap hands and says, bravo, what the fuck did he say? Okay? The administrative types don't say a word. They look like they have hemorrhoids, and they're always like this, you know, upset. And then after the meeting, say it was a bullshit meeting. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. There is no disciplined decision-making process. So we teach a disciplined decision-making process. What does it mean? There is no integration without mutual trust and respect.
I like that.
Build mutual trust and respect, which starts with how you run a meeting. For instance, people have to be on time. People that are late pay penalty that goes to philanthropy. Why? Because you make us all wait. You think you're more important than we are. Where the hell is the respect here? You know, why do you think you're more important? Oh, I was on a call. We have calls too. Then we also end on time. Why? Because maybe we have something else to do. So there is a respect. We don't interrupt each other. We listen till the end. There's a whole protocol how to run meetings. So they run on mutual trust and respect. And then number 4, the variable number 4, whom do you hire to work for you? You want people that command and grant respect and trust. You don't want a leader that people don't trust, you know, from the military, right? You don't want your soldiers shooting the commander, right, from the back. You want people that go after me because we trust you. And when he says, let's go left, we respect you, we go left. You want commanders, you want leaders that command and grant trust and respect. And what do you do with an engineer genius that is indispensable? You cannot fire him or her, but is an asshole. He does not work with people. He interrupts people, believes that he is God, but we need him. What do we do with him? You put him in a cage and you treat him like a monkey. Anytime you need information, you give him a banana, get the information, but don't let him out in the corridor. He's not a leader. He's not a manager, period. What makes a good leader is not what you know, is what you are. It's better to hire somebody who is and teach him to know than hire somebody who knows and teach him to be. So if you have the right people, the right decision-making process, the right structure, with common vision and values, there we go.
That is so good to hear. You know, of all these things, you know, you talked about all the companies you've helped and all the growth that they've had. And what's interesting is you come back to some basic things like mutual trust and respect. Yeah, and that's powerful because those are great leadership principles. And I like the fact that you said take that engineering genius that you have and put him in the corner because he shouldn't be leading people or she shouldn't be leading.
Give him a title, Chief Technology Officer,
Yep.
Emperor of the Third Order. I don't care. Give him a nice salary. Don't let him manage people.
Yeah, absolutely. This is all really good. I think, I mean, obviously, I think I want to encourage listeners to dive into this particular book, Mastering Change. Is going to cover a lot more detail that we covered here. Plus the fact that you've got 28 other books or 27 other books in 36 languages. There's plenty of resource that you have within your organization.
To go to my website because we have online videos. We have tests to see the personality styles and if they match the job they do. We have a lot of training and a lot of it's not consulting, transformation. We go to a company and we help transform a company to tremendous success. I mean, you can see it all testimonials. So it is books and videos and materials and tests and quite a lot. And we have it in 10 countries, offices in 10 countries. So, and our associates, we take them between almost 3 years to train them and certify them. So this is the profession. Right now we are opening in the university in Israel with a BA and master in this methodology called Adizes Organizational Therapy. So there is a profession here. This is not just another consultant who can speak fast and, you know, and tell you how smart he is. No. This is a profession. It's a profession with ethical standards, with certification criteria, and it takes a lot of time to train people to do it.
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. Dr. Adizes, how can people find out more about your company and all the things you offer?
You know, if you give them on Adizes, A like in Adam, D like in David, I, Z like in zebra, E like in Edward, S like in Sam. Adizes.com, a website, you will find everything, and I look forward people to join. Especially I'm looking people to sign on my blog because I write a blog every Friday about management, insights about management. Like this Friday, tomorrow I'm having a blog. Why? How to know whether the company is managed well. You know how?
No, I'm interested to hear. I have a theory, but I'll like to hear your answer.
You know, they're going to tell you, look at the balance sheet, look at the profit and loss. True. I tell you what they look at. Are the people laughing?
Love it. I love it. I tell people, because I get the question, I teach leadership courses in colleges, and I get the question often, how do I know if I'm a good leader? And I say, if everyone gets quiet when you walk up, you've got work to do. And it's a similar answer. Interesting. Yeah.
By the way, same thing for a marriage. Work a marriage. Don't laugh. They sit very seriously. They have a problem. But you see a marriage that is laughing, she's laughing, he's laughing. They have a problem, they laugh it. That's a good marriage, man. Tell me, and the same thing with a guy who is all the time serious. He has hemorrhoids. He's all the time, everything is a problem. You know, what the hell? You want a guy that he says, well, let's do something about it. What do we do about it? You know, laughter. With my blog, I say laughter and crying are the same thing. The two sides of the same coin.
Yes.
Because laughter, you laugh because you're scared. Look at every joke. There's an ingredient of thing that scares. That's why you're laughing.
Right.
Same thing with crying. So now the question is, when you have a problem, do you laugh it off or do you cry it? When you laugh it, it creates energy. When you cry, it depletes energy. So people that make subordinates cry without tears, but they cry, are bad managers. You want a manager that uplifts people, and laughter is one sign.
I love this. This is fantastic. Listeners, I really do encourage you to check out all the resources. We'll put links in the show notes for all the resources. Dr. Adizes, this has been fantastic. I feel like we just began to have a conversation, and there's so much here. And I really, for listeners, you need to dig into his resources, dig into the stuff that he's doing, because it's fantastic. And he obviously
By
5
the
decades of experience here. So
you should know, Ron, because you're a military guy. I taught for the Israeli Defense College for all the generals of Israel. So this applies to the military as well.
absolutely.
How do you build mutual trust and respect? Because if there is no mutual trust and respect, go home, man. We don't need you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Sure. Bye. Send us a copy, please.
Will do. Will do.
Thank you. All the
Thank
best.
you very much.